From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I am Ahmed Ramadan. Palestinian films are winning applause at major festivals, but most remain hard to watch. This and more on today's show. A coalition of policy experts and civil society voices has sharply criticized the Donald Trump administration's decision to designate Muslim Brotherhood-linked groups as terrorist organizations. The Council on American Islamic Relations has rejected state-level terrorist designations, arguing they are unconstitutional, defamatory, and harmful to civil liberties. The advocacy group has filed a lawsuit in response. They say the move is a serious policy misstep with global and domestic consequences. In a joint statement issued January 27, the signatories warned the move weakens U.S. credibility abroad and undermines democratic principles. They argue counterterrorism tools are most effective when narrowly targeted at groups engaged in violence, not broad political or social movements. The statement notes the Muslim Brotherhood is not a single global organization, but a loose network of national movements. Some of those movements have participated in elections and legal political processes. Labeling such groups as terrorists blurs the line between violent extremism and nonviolent political participation, the statement reads. The statement cautions the decision could embolden authoritarian regimes, fuel radicalization, and encourage guilt by association narratives against Muslim communities. They urge U.S. policymakers to reconsider the designation and refocus on evidence-based security policies. The world is now closer than ever to disasters that could seriously threaten human life. Scientists have moved the Doomsday Clock 4 seconds closer to midnight. It now stands at just 85 seconds to midnight, the closest it has ever been in its 80-year history. The clock is a symbol warning used by the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. When scientists move it closer to midnight, they are saying the risk of such disasters has increased. Midnight on the clock represents a global catastrophe, such as nuclear war, climate collapse, or technological crisis that would spin out of control. The 4-second jump is significant and shows experts believe the world has become much more dangerous in a short time. Scientists say several major threats are growing simultaneously. These include the risk of nuclear weapons, climate change, artificial intelligence, the rise of authoritarian governments, and the spread of false information. Daniel Holtz, who leads the science panel at the Bulletin, says the message is clear. The world should be worried, but action can still reduce the danger. Palestinian films are winning applause at major festivals, but most remain hard to watch. At Venice, Cannes, and Toronto, audiences have given long-standing ovations to these films, gaining recognition and awards. Several Palestinian stories have also reached the Oscar longlist. Yet, the films are not readily available for a global audience. In the United States, the films have been picked up by small distributors. Filmmakers say the practice of providing a limited screening is not new. They argue Palestinian cinema has always struggled to reach the mainstream. Directors point to fear, politics, and pressures within Hollywood. Major studios and streaming platforms are not taking the films. Some films have also faced smear campaigns, piracy, and online attacks. Projects backed by international funding and famous producers have also been sidelined. Despite global attention and strong reviews, access remains the real battle. For Palestinian filmmakers, winning awards is possible. Reaching the public is still the hardest part. Minnesota's chief federal judge has warned the head of U.S. immigration enforcement could face contempt of court over repeated failures to follow judicial orders. U.S. District Judge Patrick J. Schultz ordered Immigration and Customs Enforcement Acting Director Todd Lyons to appear in person in his courtroom by Friday. The judge said Lyons must explain why he should not be held in contempt. In a sharply worded order issued Monday, Judge Schultz called the move extraordinary but necessary. He cites what he describes as dozens of recent violations by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. One case involves a January 14 order requiring a detained immigrant to receive a bond hearing within a week or be released. The individual still remains in custody without a hearing. The judge notes that ICE lawyers have repeatedly promised compliance. He says those assurances have not been met. In the order, Schultz writes, the court patience is at an end. This comes as there is a growing judicial frustration nationwide with the government's conduct in immigration cases. U.S. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar was assaulted during a town hall meeting in Minneapolis late Tuesday. Omar was addressing constituents on immigration enforcement and the Department of Homeland Security. Video footage shows a man seated in the front row suddenly rising and lunging towards the podium, spraying Omar with an unknown liquid from a syringe. Security personnel immediately tackled and restrained the suspect. Omar stepped back briefly but was not seriously injured. Minneapolis police later confirmed the man was arrested and booked on charges of third-degree assault. Forensic teams were called to the scene to examine the substance. Witnesses described the liquid as having a strong, vinegar-like odor. The disruption came as Omar was sharply criticizing Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. She was calling for her resignation or impeachment and reiterating her demand to abolish ICE. Despite calls from those around her to leave the room, Omar returned to the podium and continued speaking. She told the audience she would not be intimidated or silenced. Later, Omar posted a statement saying, "I don't let bullies win." The incident follows weeks of public attacks on Omar by President Donald Trump amid heightened political tensions in Minnesota. U.S. House Democratic leaders have warned President Donald Trump to remove Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem or face impeachment proceedings against her. In a joint statement, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Whip Catherine Clark, and Caucus Chair Pete Aguilar said Noem should be fired immediately. They warned that if she remains in office, Democrats will move to impeach her in the House of Representatives. The warning follows the fatal shooting of Alex Preddy during an immigration enforcement operation in Minnesota. The incident has triggered growing scrutiny of the Department of Homeland Security and renewed anger among Democrats. Party leaders accuse the administration of misusing taxpayer funds. They say federal power is being turned against American citizens. They are calling for an immediate end to what they describe as escalating violence linked to Homeland Security operations. Trump has rejected calls for Noem's removal. He told reporters she is doing a very good job. He also repeated his claim that the U.S. border is fully secure. Noem is scheduled to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee on March 3rd. A new campus survey at Brown University raises concerns about how safe minority students feel reporting harassment and discrimination. Details coming up next.
My name is Layla. I was an average kid until Zula Inc. broke into my life because my dad discovered time travel. After that, everything changed.
You're the new girl Layla, right?
Whoa! What if I don't fit in?
Abdullah!
Do I hear my name?
Oh!
Welcome to Vancouver, cuz.
Whoa! Whoa!
You four have been specially chosen to take our project into the next generation.
You can time travel?
Abdullah! No! Abdullah! Where?
Do you really think I don't know why we had to leave Seattle, Mama?
Now here, keep these close. These should never leave your wrist.
This virtual reality game is crazy. You can even eat. This is reality, buddy. We zoomed through a wormhole.
Oh no, my Go Watch! It's gone!
What does this do?
That's Al-Khwarizmi. You know, the father of mathematics. It's because of him we have algorithms.
I will not stop until your legacy, everyone's legacy, lies in ruins. Of course it was you. You little rascals ruined everything.
Your fate will be great. Just don't give up.
Time hoppers.
The largest union of U.S. federal workers is demanding the resignation or dismissal of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. They are also demanding the firings of White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller after the killing of a Veteran Affairs nurse by federal agents in Minneapolis. Alex Pretty, an intensive care nurse at the Minneapolis VA Medical Center, was shot dead over the weekend. He was a member of the American Federation of Government Employees, AFGE Local 3669. AFGE President Everett Kelly is accusing Noem and Miller of falsely labeling Pretty as a domestic terrorist. He says the policies they promoted led directly to a needless killing. Democratic lawmakers have similar demands. Congressman Don Bayer says he supports Noem's resignation and impeachment, accusing her of obstructing investigations into 2 fatal shootings by DHS agents in Minneapolis this month. The White House continues to back Noem. Despite government support, the case has triggered growing scrutiny of aggressive immigration enforcement tactics. A new campus climate survey at Brown University in Providence shows many minority students feel uncomfortable reporting harassment and discrimination. In a campus-wide message, Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion Matthew Gutturl said more than 11% of students identifying as Black, Muslim, or Jewish reported experiencing harassment or discrimination. The figure rises to more than 15% among graduate and medical students who identify as Black, Hispanic, multiracial, Muslim, or transgender. The survey highlights particular concerns among Muslim undergraduates. Only 37% said Brown takes Islamophobia seriously and responds appropriately. 48% said they feel comfortable reporting incidents, compared with 74% of undergraduates overall. Brown University says it will expand mandatory non-discrimination training and address harassment on social media. The South Florida Muslim Federation says it has been forced to sever ties with the Council on American Islamic Relations Florida chapter. The development comes after state authorities labeled CAIR a foreign terrorist organization, a move analysts call unprecedented and politically driven. Florida Attorney General James Othmere has issued a warning that state and local resources could not be used by any group linked to CAIR. Under mounting pressure, the Federation removed CAIR Florida from its membership list and website. In a statement, the Federation says CAIR Florida has a long record of defending Muslim civil rights. It says it has never witnessed any conduct resembling terrorism. The statement says CAIR Florida has challenged the designation in federal court. Civil rights advocates argue the state action is coercive, undermines due process, and is harmful for Muslim civic engagement. Israel's Supreme Court has ordered the eviction of several Palestinian families from their homes in the Butn al-Hawa neighborhood of Silwan in occupied East Jerusalem. The ruling clears the way for the properties to be handed over to a settler association. Video shows general views of Israeli settlements overlooking Batn al-Hawa in East Jerusalem. Families in the area say they are living in constant fear as similar court decisions increase. Batn al-Hawa, home to thousands of Palestinians, has long been targeted by Israeli authorities and settler groups. Just below it lies Al-Bustan, where dozens of Palestinian homes have already been demolished to make way for a planned park known as the King's Garden. More demolitions are expected. Human rights groups say the evictions are part of a broader policy to displace Palestinians from Silwan and reshape the area. Israel has cut off East Jerusalem by a concrete wall which Palestinians and the United Nations say is meant to annex occupied land. Since the Gaza genocide began in October 2023, Palestinians report a sharp rise in violence, demolitions, and settlement expansions across the occupied West Bank, including East Jerusalem. Displaced Palestinians have staged a protest in the northern West Bank, demanding the right to return to their homes amid ongoing Israeli military operations. Residents forced out of Tul Karam and Nur Shams refugee camps gathered at Sabit Square in Tul Karam. They carried Palestinian flags and photographs of relatives held in Israeli prisons. Protesters say the raids are pushing families from the neighborhoods, making daily life impossible. Speakers at the rally say returning to the two camps is an inalienable right, not a request tied to aid or temporary shelter. They reject what they call stopgap solutions. Imani Ghanem, displaced from Nur Shams, says families want to go back to their homes and refuse to give up their right to return. Another protester, Ahmed, says people are not seeking assistance, but a chance to return to the homes where they grew up. Protests have erupted across Pakistan-administered Kashmir following an Indian court adjourning hearings in the case of Kashmiri pro-freedom leader Yasin Malik. Malik is the chairman of the Jammu and Kashmir Liberation Front. The court describes it as the agency's final opportunity and has fixed April 22nd as the next hearing date. Malik appeared before the court via video link from New Delhi's Tihar jail, where he is serving a life sentence. He accused investigators of deliberately delaying the case and said repeated adjournments since 2023 have caused him psychological distress. Coinciding with the hearing, a complete shutdown strike was observed in several parts of Pakistan-administered Kashmir following a call by the Public Action Committee. Protesters are opposing the death penalty and are demanding justice for Malik. Malik's wife is urging international intervention, warning a death sentence could inflame regional tensions. Agentic artificial intelligence is rapidly replacing bots and simple workflows as companies push for full end-to-end digital transformation. Manos Raptopoulos, a senior executive of German multinational software firm SAP, says businesses worldwide are turning to Agentic AI. He says it helps to deliver quicker and more reliable outcomes. Raptopoulos made the comments on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Davos. He says companies want faster financial closures, better liquidity, and smarter ways to balance supply and demand. Raptopoulos says Agentic AI can manage complex processes and large volumes of data, cutting errors and speeding up decisions. As a result, traditional bots are being phased out. Raptopoulos says geopolitical tensions are also driving demand for AI that supports faster decisions during uncertainty. For latest updates regarding the Rohingya genocide case, let's go to our correspondent, Hannah Zubairi, who's at The Hague.
Assalamu alaikum. The hearings at the International Court of Justice on the case that the Gambia has brought against Burma or Myanmar continues on today. Today, the Burmese military legal team, or the Burmese government's legal team, presented their responses to the evidence presented against them. A couple of points from today's hearing were that the Burmese legal team continued to call the Rohingya Bengalis. They even said that the Rohingya is not a term an actual term. This has brought about a response from the government of Bangladesh, which said that which is housing over 1 million Rohingya today in their country. And they strongly disagreed with Myanmar's position on the term Bengali. Another aspect of Burma's defense was that since hundreds of thousands of Rohingya exist and were not killed, therefore this could not be a genocide. They also said that a case of extermination could not be called a case of genocide. Inside, this was happening inside the courtroom. Outside the courtroom, Rohingya activists, several of them who had gathered around countries from the European Union and the UK, gathered, and supporters gathered and protested the Burmese presentation going on inside. And this brought a really human element to the legalities that were being conducted inside the courtroom. The Burmese legal team even went after the IIOM, which is the International Fact-Finding Mission on Myanmar. This was established in 2017 by the United Nations to figure out what exactly happened and what atrocities were committed by the Burmese military and security forces. The Myanmar legal team at the ICJ today claimed that this team was not unbiased and even questioned their authority and their qualifications and asked the court not to give the fact-finding mission, the FFM report, any credence. This case is extremely important because what happens inside will give us clues to what we can expect from the South African case against Israel that it had brought about on genocide because of Israel's military campaigns in Gaza. So we will continue tomorrow. The hearings will end. The judges will deliberate. Final statements will be given. And then we can expect a decision by the court in a few months. So stay with us. This is Hannah Zuberi reporting from outside the International Court of Justice in The Hague, Netherlands, for Muslim Network TV.
Thank you, Hannah. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.